Hi everyone. So let's continue to discuss on JUnit 5 assertions. In this lecture we will look into assert equals method, assertions API, provide a static assert equals method. So this assert equals method takes in a two value. One is the actual value and the other is expected value. So the actual value is a value which is returned from our code which we want to test, and the expected value is what we expect that it should return. So this method helps us in validating that the actual and the expected values are equal or not. So if the actual value is equal to this expected value, then we know that our test case is passed. And if the actual value is not equal to the expected value, then the test case will fail. So this assert equals method helps us in validating the actual with an expected value. So let's see the overloaded method of assert equals. So the first overloaded method, as we discussed, takes in an actual and an expected value, and it asserts whether the expected and actual value are equal or not. The second overloaded method takes in an actual and expected value, and it also takes a third parameter which is nothing but a message. So what this method does, it asserts whether expected and actual values are equal. In case if the expected value is not equal to actual value, then our test case will fail. And in JUnit console, we will see a message which we have provided as a third parameter. And the third overloaded method takes in an actual and expected value along with a supplier function interface. So the third overloaded method works exactly as the second overloaded method. So the only difference is if the actual and expected values are not equal, then we know that our test case will fail. And once our test case fails, the supplier function interface comes into picture and it actually supplies a message. So the only advantage of using the supplier function interface is that it gets lazily evaluated to a string message only when our test case fails. In the second overloaded assert equals method, this string message gets evaluated whether our test case fails or pass. So friends, these were the three main overloaded methods of assert equals. Now let's go to Eclipse and see the demonstration of assert equals method. So friends, in our last lecture we discussed about assert not null method. So in this lecture we will see the demonstration of assert equals method. So here I will be creating one class as assert equals demo. I will keep it in a package as assert equals. We'll finish. So friends, here you can see we have created one test class by name assert equals demo. In our last lecture we discussed about assert not null, and we also discussed the three overloaded assert not null methods. So friends, in this lecture I will be using these three test methods and will demonstrate assert equals method. So I'll just copy these three test methods and I will simply paste it in our assert equals demo test class. So first we will see the assert equals method which takes in an expected and actual value. So I will change the test name as assert equals with no message. So friend, in this test case we are actually testing book service class. So the first step we have done is we have initialized book service class, and then we have created two books with an ID 1 and 2, and then using the add book method of book service class we are adding these two books in our list of books here. And then we are calling this getBookById method. We are passing in an ID. So what this method does, it takes in a book ID, it iterates over list of books, and it checks whether this book ID is present in list of books or not. So if it is present, then it simply returns the book, or else it returns null. So friends, here we will be using this same test scenario, and we will see the demonstration of assert equals method with no message. So here, when we will call getBookById and we will pass the value as 1, we know that this book is present in our list of books. So the actual value will hold the instance of book having book ID as 1, the title is Head First Java, and the publisher is Vrox. So what we do is, we call assert equals. So here when we will call getBookById method and pass it a value as 1, we expect that it should return this book whose ID is 1, title is Head First Java, and publisher is Vrox. So then we compare the actual value with our expectation. Let's say we provide an expectation as 1, that it should return a book by ID as 1. So here we do actual book dot get book ID. We will import assert equals method from assertions class. So this is a static method. And here we also assert that let's say this actual book has title Head First Java. So what we do is, we provide another assert equals. Here we provide a string that we are expecting the title should be Head First Java. And here we call getTitle. So friend, let's run this test case. So friends, here you can see this test case got passed, because when we called getBookById and we passed the ID as 1, this book instance was returned whose ID was 1 and whose title was Head First Java. Therefore, this assert equals compared 1 with the book ID and Head First Java with the title, and as they both were equal, our test case got passed. So friend, let's suppose if we are providing a wrong value, that we were expecting Head First, and if I run the test case now, you can see the test case got failed with an assertion failed error. Here you can see that it shows that the expected was Head First but was Head First Java. So therefore the test case got failed. So friends, this was a demonstration of first overloaded assert equals method. So now let's see the demonstration of assert equals with message. So I have given the name as assert equals with message, and here I'll just copy this and I will paste it here. So the scenario is exactly same what we saw here. So the only difference here is we are passing in actual value, we are passing in expected value, and we are using the overloaded assert equals method, which takes in a string message. Let's say we give the message as book title didn't match. So here we have provided a customized message that book title didn't match. So if I run this test case, so here you can see the test case got failed with an assertion failed error, and it says that it expected Head First but was Head First Java, And along with this failure, it provided a customized message that book title didn't match. So friend, this was our second overloaded assert equals method. Now let's see the third overloaded assert equals method. So here we will be seeing assert equals with message supplier. So I'll just copy this part. So friend, third overloaded assert equals method, instead of taking the message directly, it takes in a supplier functional interface. So the syntax of using the supplier functional interface is like a lambda expression which evaluates to a string. So friends, here what it does is, if we are asserting the actual value with an expected value, and if they don't match, then this supplier functional interface comes into picture. It gets evaluated and it returns a string value. So this string value is nothing but our message which gets printed whenever our test case fails. So the only advantage is, if the test case doesn't fail, then this supplier function interface doesn't get evaluated to a string. So if I run this test case, you can see it failed with an assertion failed error saying that expected was head first but was head first Java, and it also printed the message we supplied that book title didn't match. So friend, this was a demonstration of how we can use the assert equals method to compare the actual value with an expected value. So here if I just provide head first Java in all of our 3 test cases, and if I run all the 3 test cases, you can see all the 3 test cases got passed, because whatever we expected that this should return, the expected value matched with an actual value. So friends, in this lecture we saw the demonstration of assert equals method. I hope you liked this video. Thanks, have a nice day.